Alright, so that's out of the way. Thank you for bearing with me through that. Alright, so basically, the group that I'm working with is a bunch of family members. We've been playing various tabletop RPGs for many, many, many years. Consists of my dad playing a human invoker named Cat, my mom playing a dragonborn paladin named Sapphire, and my brother-in-law, his name is Mike. He's playing a human assassin named Misha, and then my sister, uh, who is playing a diva cleric named Dara. So that's the group makeup. They're currently level 8. Started out working with working in the realm of Punjar, uh, which is a series not made by Wizards of the Coast. It's made by a different company. I can't quite recall. Let me see if I can find them. I rely very heavily. Dungeon Crawl Classics is the series, and it is made by Goodman Games. That's right, an excellent series. They got a lot of really cool adventures, so check them out as well if you're looking for something a little bit different. I've kind of just sort of shoehorned them into the world. I have decided on going with the Scales of War, uh, what they call the adventure path that you can find on the D&D Insiders site. So I found, from what I've seen of them, I haven't read through all of them, of course. They go from level 1 to 30. Uh, but I found them to be quite interesting, very well laid out, extremely easy to prepare for because a lot of the information you need is right there in it. Give you an example. In fact, I believe I have to copy the adventure on over. Seeing we are working with Temple Between is the adventure that my players are currently on. They started with Destroyer, which is the previous one. So we didn't start with these first early ones. We kind of have gone through and skipped those. I didn't find the path until a bit later, and it became increasingly difficult to find content that fit with what I was going for. So I decided to kind of shoehorn the current villains of my players' campaign into this story arc, and so far it's worked well, and the players have really been enjoying it. So we're gonna copy that. I keep everything. I do everything digital. I found PDFs for most of the major books. I do own all the books between us, but I find it much easier to have searchable PDFs on the fly while I'm playing, especially since I run in a digital format for the actual game boards and everything. So I do most of my creation on my main desktop computer, but I take my laptop on over to my parents' house for the game itself, and I use an external hard drive that I'm working on here, so everything is all in one place and very easy to get a hold of and keep track of. So the first thing to do when keeping track of adventures is definitely read through the manual or through the adventure itself. You just need to get that overview of what's going on, the basic outline and that sort of thing. And from there, I start to build the actual encounters that my players will be going through. I use a program called Map Tools to do so, and I'll be showing that in just a moment. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask anything that you see in chat. So those of us who are watching a broadcast that's recorded, I'm sorry if you don't see them. I'll try to explain the question and answer as well at the same time. So let's go ahead and open up Map Tools, bring that on up. Now I've already prepared a couple of the maps here. What I typically do is when you look at them in the actual adventure, we'll scroll down to there, you can see that they have the tactical maps here, like that. I'll typically basically copy the image and I'll bring it over to an image editing software that you prefer. I use Microsoft Paint because I'm not very good with anything else, although I do eventually want to learn something a bit more advanced, like Photoshop or something like that. But anyways, I take it on over into Paint, and you can see that it has a lot of information like these D's and S's and stuff like that, secret doors, that I wouldn't want my players to see. So I'll go in and I basically edit those out as best I can so that I get kind of a clean map to work with. which is the map that my players will see. So once I have that, I save it as a JPEG, add it into my hard drive there. That way I can work with it within the program. So let's open up map tools here. Let's see, I'm trying to remember which. I think the launcher is what I typically use. Nope, must be the actual executable file. So within map tools, it has a couple things that you want to kind of keep persistent throughout the game. Primarily the players themselves, the little tokens that we use for the players, as well as I have a macro for taking care of damage to the creatures and taking care of initiative and that sort of thing. So typically what I'll do is I'll open up the previous adventure that I was working with. Let me find that, done the destroyer, and bring the campaign up. So this is what map tools itself looks like. So this is kind of the DM's version, which you use for both creation of the maps and also playing it. The players have a separate computer running a client, which basically shows what I want them to show. So in certain maps I may have stuff that is on what would be the hidden level. That is stuff that's not shown to the players. So if there's monsters that are hiding that I don't want them to see, I'll put them on that level and then change them to the standard viewable level. A good example is these light sources here. If I have it on the token level, which is the level that the players see, they're not selectable, you don't see them at all, but they still provide light for the room because I wanted this room to be well lit. When I go over to the hidden level here, I can actually manipulate them, I can change them as a light source, I can do all sorts of things with them. So that's how I kind of bring things in and out, how I provide the lighting that I wish. Neat thing with map tools is if you click on a character, you can actually see what they can see. You can see that they wouldn't be able to see past this brazier and that sort of thing, and as they move around, that actually changes. So it really gives a really neat way to kind of bring creatures in using a real line of sight system, which is a neat dynamic that you wouldn't normally get on a tabletop. So something that we kind of use as extra, and that's all done via what they call the vision blocking layer, which is right here. Basically these blue lines are areas that the players cannot see through. So these big urns here I decided were so large that they would actually block vision. And so that's represented by the players, and as you can see as Dara here moves around, it actually does block her vision. Neat things you can do is I have on the layer, I have kind of a layer here, but it has holes in it so they could actually see past these tapestries and could not see through these pedestals. But if one of my players were to go on up into this balcony area, they would actually be able to see that area. So again, neat stuff that you can do with the campaign, some cool encounter effects that you can do, and I typically try to bring it in where it makes sense. So anyways, this was my campaign that the players just finished. It's called a Destroyer. So what I'd like to do is copy the characters, and I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to delete all of the maps. So I find this just be the easiest way to keep hold of all of my macros, keep hold of the players, so I don't have to, create them again as objects within the game. And I believe that is all the maps. Yep. So I'll go File and Save Campaign As. You don't want to save your campaign when it's all deleted because, of course, that would get rid of your old work. And I like to keep an archive of my old adventures, although they have been gone through, so a lot of the creatures are gone and that sort of thing. But at least it's there in case I need it or if I ever want to distribute them if I'm allowed to, that sort of thing. So anyways, I'm now saving a campaign which has my macros still, has my characters saved, and I'm going to name it Temple Between, because that is the name of this adventure. Save that, and we're going to bring in our first map. So we're going to click on New Map. name it what we want. I believe, let's take a look. Where is my... And basically, I am looking to get to... Oops. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah. Yeah. This is where I'm kind of keeping the individual campaign. I like to keep the names on the maps as the encounters, so I can look them up easily in the adventure. But it also, if I named them more descriptively, it would give the players kind of a heads up on what's coming next, because they can see the names of the maps. So I name them somewhat cryptically if I can. So this one is C5. This name is the name that the players will see. And we're basically going to go into map, file system, and we will pull up the JPEG that I had prepared earlier. So I typically like to make the background just basic black so it doesn't get confusing. So now I have the map itself. From here we want to make sure that Fog of War is selected, that way the players will uncover the map as they walk through it. We also want to take a look in the vision. This describes whether the map is fully lit as if it was daytime, or if it would be night, in which case the players' torches would be the ones that uncover the Fog of War as they explore and advance. It's really fun. In dungeons, you have just kind of this giant black screen, and slowly it kind of expands forward as the players view things and find new things. So this particular map, if I remember right, there's two possible times that the players would explore it, and that is sometimes during the day, sometimes during the night, depending on what decisions they make. So I'm going to set it up first as a daytime map. On the fly, I can always change it to a nighttime map later, and in fact, if they've seen it in the daytime and then I switch it to night, we'll have Fog of War so that new things like creatures are hidden, but the basic layout of the map will remain the same. Now these two things here are buildings, so I'm going to want to basically cover those up so that the players won't know what's inside until they go into them themselves. That's something I'll do with some of the tokens here, some of the things that I can adjust in the game on the fly, and we'll see that as my players explore it tomorrow. So, first thing we need to do is the creators of the dungeon have this nice grid that they've laid down, but the game itself, the program itself, does not recognize that as anything useful. So what we need to do is set kind of the scale of the map, and we do that by hitting Adjust Grid, and that will let us kind of bring things down so that the scale works in the game. And I just try to line it up as best as possible. It generally won't be perfect, but a lot of what we're doing here is basically just making sure that the creatures and the things that we bring into the game world are of the appropriate size for the game world. There we are. That's about right. Let's bring it down a touch. Make it a little bit bigger. That looks pretty decent. Right about there, maybe? This is always a finicky part. I'm using the mouse wheel to scroll up and down to make the grid bigger and smaller, and the arrow keys to move it over, nudge it over a little bit. It's about as good as we're going to get right there. So I'm going to close that. So what that will do is, if I bring in a monster, it will actually size itself to the game world. So that way it's not the original size of whatever that object was when it was created. So it's very useful. So I'm also going to I forgot, I went ahead and copied that instead of having my characters, which means that I need to go and get my characters back. So let's go ahead and save the campaign, open the destroyer one again, get our player characters, copy them, close. Oops. So we'll close the old old adventure down, load up the one that we just created, and paste them on in. So now they're here. Usually just whatever area they would be starting in when they start the map is where I typically will place them. So, let's begin with blocking out the map. So, at this point there's certain areas in the map that the players would not be able to see around. So we're going to go on over into the vision layer. We're going to start drawing in those vision lines. Which will prevent the players from seeing through things that they shouldn't be able to see through. It also blocks the player's movement, so they would need to move only through places that the vision blocking is not applied. So that way they aren't just jumping or teleporting through walls left and right. So this works like the line tool in Paint, where basically you just right click to extend the lines from where you're at, left click to finish. You can have it filled in or not. There's a couple different tools, but this is the one that I found to be the easiest. Now this is like a set of curtains which blocks off kind of a worship area for the temple of I think it's Arathis in this. So block these off as well. Let's see if we want, I think I'll make some of these trees big enough to where they might block some vision. Typically don't do like the full tree, so you can kind of see some foliage or see some stuff through it. It may never come into play, but it really adds a lot to the immersion. Let's make that a bit bigger, this one. I don't like where I did that one. If you hold down shift, it basically removes the blocking layer. So that's how you can erase it. So let's grab another line to go across here. Alright, and here. Alrighty. And I find that you want to have some of the walls poking through, so it's a little bit easier for the players to get an idea of where walls are, and not just have a black line. I'm going to go ahead and just block off everything that's not on the actual game map. So, kind of looks the same whether it's a black wall that they can't see through or where they can but they just see black. But this does allow me to basically hide creatures that I may want to drag in from outside the map. So I can say, you know, have a creature here, so I can drag it on in if they want to, if they might encounter it. But the players can't actually see it because of that vision blocking line that I put there. So we can see actually on the fly, as we created those vision blocking layers, the players have actually, they can no longer see through those areas. It's limiting what they can see until they explore and move around. So, which is, again, like I said, really nice. I typically like to keep most of the background as it is. I'll do some interactive items, stuff that I think the players may mess around with. Typically doors and stuff like that. So I have a set of objects and things that I like to use. And we're actually going to put, I usually put most objects that the PCs would mess with on the object level. This allows me to not select them when we're in the middle of a fight accidentally and move doors around and chests and stuff like that, because I'm working within the object or the token level at that point during fights. So when I bring stuff into the object level, it doesn't line itself with the grid, but you can go ahead and realign it. And I basically just will place it where I want it. I'm just going to make this a little bit wider. And place it. I copy that. Basically paste some more. I think that's a window there. So I'm going to set the door here. Looks like there's a door over here. I guess that's a little closet, so that must be a doorway there. So, and what I'll do is when players want to open up a door, say they come on, let's go on over here, bring ourselves back to the token layer. So Cat here wants to open up this door. I will go on over to the vision blocking layer. I'll actually erase the line that's currently blocking the doorway. That way they can see through it. And then I'll go into the object layer and I'll just rotate the door. So now he can go on in to the room and explore through. So let's close the door again, and let's go ahead and redraw that vision blocking layer for them. Now the game, or I keep on calling it a game, but it's really just a program. The game is the Dungeons & Dragons pen and paper. It keeps track of what players have seen before. So a lot of times that means that the fog layer needs to be redrawn if you're manipulating your characters and you don't want them to have knowledge of that beforehand. Alright. I'll have to wait until I have the server running for that. So anyways, we have our basic campaign, or basic vision blocking done. So the players can explore through in a reasonable way. Next thing what we need to do is if there are any enemies or creatures, I typically add them here. Some encounters you'll see they are basically very easy to spot right off the bat. Some encounters you may have creatures that are hidden. So, in this particular case, because the map changes depending on if the players explore during day or night, I'm going to have the creatures hidden, but in spots that I want them to. So if we go back over to the adventure, you can see that there's actually a listing of what's going on here. Now where they show up kind of varies based on where the PCs are. They basically get a couple minutes to explore at night, and then they get confronted. So I'm just going to have to kind of guess a bit on where I think they should be and move around to wherever it kind of makes sense. It's one of those things where if the PCs are exploring over here, then they show up here. If the PCs are over here, then there's the blue ones. If they're over here, then I think the green ones show up. So you just kind of play it by ear and just kind of have it make sense. And we can go on over and see that the actual encounter is 5 thugs, 2 doppelganger assassins, and then a named character named Grovald. So I need to bring in basically 8 different people, 5 of them thugs, 2 assassins. So let's go ahead and do so. So we're going to go on over here. I'm going to put them over on the hidden layer. And let's get some thugs out here. Looks pretty thuggish. So there we are. Over on the hidden layer. Kind of thuggy. Alright, who else? There we are. Just a guy with the hammer there. Who else looks like a thug? There, that's a thug. So, and how about some of... Nah, that's too much armor on him. So you end up kind of recycling things a bit. But that's alright. The tokens are there mostly to just show where things are. There we are. That's kind of thuggy. So I'm going to double click on them, name them how I want. Let's see, which I usually just match whatever it is. Streetwise thugs. That way it's very easy to look up the stats when I need to. Streetwise thug. Copy that. Okay. There we are. Alright, so there's my 5 streetwise thugs. And they're all on the hidden level, so the players will not be aware of them at all. In fact, if I'm on the token level, I can't even select them. So that's one of the nice things is if you have stuff on different layers, it prevents you from accidentally moving around or adjusting them. Let's go ahead. Let's see. We've got 2 doppelganger assassins. Let's bring some assassiny looking guys. He looks kind of assassiny. Let's bring him in. And then, yeah, guys with black cloaks and bows are always assassins. So, and I don't want the players to know right off the bat that these guys are doppelgangers. So I'll just name them assassin. And then let's get the main guy is Grovald. He's kind of taking the place of a high priest. So let's get a guy looks kind of priesty in here. He looks kind of priesty. There we are. So, and it's no secret to the players that this guy is bad if they're exploring this place at night. So there's no reason to hide that. So there's our encounter. Like I said, I'll have to move them around on the fly, depending on how the players are exploring. But that's not a big deal. I can even just select them all, drag them where I want. So easy peasy. So, alright, so that's that. I do want to set up the hit points from them. I do use a macro which allows me to track hit points on the fly. It shows me when they're bloodied. All sorts of neat things that are kind of a pain to do when you're DMing normally. You know, you have these notebooks with 12 different creatures, and you got to remember, okay, is this one over here creature number 12 or number 5? On the game itself, it's very easy to tell. So, my players are not especially efficient at what they do, especially damage-wise. So what I've been doing, what's been working out for the flow of the game and for just basically keeping them alive, is I have all the major defenses and attacks and all that. I keep those the same. I keep the encounter the same, even though this adventure is designed for 5 people and I only have 4 players. What I do is I basically run every creature at half the hit points. So it's worked out well. I've still usually on a major encounter will drop 1 or 2 players, building that tension so it's not any cakewalk by any means. But to be honest, you know, the players play for fun. They're not optimizing their characters in any way, and they just don't quite have the damage to go and drop a enemy in 1 or 2 rounds. So I've adjusted things on the fly adjusted things for them. So, so what's nice about having the creatures at half damage is basically I can look up and just see where their bloodied hit points is, and then just set that as the hit points. Now the streetwide thugs, those are all minions, so those are very simple. So we'll set those all up with 1 hit point. And that's a streetwise thug. Properties, hit points 1, 1. Alright, so there's all the thugs taken care of. The assassins are going to be 34 hit points. And then Grovald himself is 97. Alright. And that basically ties into this this macro here. And when when they're actually in combat, if they take damage, I just select them, hit F2, and then just type in how much damage they've taken. So if they took, say he took 50 damage in a hit, that will reduce his hit points by the 50, see 47, 97. It also keeps track of when they're bloodied or not. If I need to say they heal, I can just do a negative amount, and that will bring them back up. Unfortunately, it's not smart enough to unbloody them, but I can change the the state. Where is it? I may have to move him on over to the token level to do that. Yep. So let's change to token. Bring this over here. Alright, and that lets me uncheck bloodied. Let's range him back, or change back to hidden. Now he's back on the hidden level. Alright, so that's this map taken care of. And we're going to save the campaign and create a new map. And so the second encounter that we'll need a map for is kind of a ambush in an alleyway. So C7 is the name of that one. Map, file system, C7, bam. Bring the background to black, and there we are. So, and this one, it originally had quite a few people out on the streets here. As you can see, I have gone ahead and removed those. I didn't bother with these because I knew that with vision blocking, my players would never see those tokens anyways. Alright, sorry for that. Alright, so next thing we need to do is let's go ahead and set out the vision blocking. Actually, no, let's set the grid first. Actually, close that. Zoom in a bit more so it's a bit easier to see when it lines up. Alrighty. Let's see how we're doing there. That looks pretty much like it. Good. Alrighty, vision blocking. There's going to be a lot of vision blocking in this because of the buildings. Looks like they'll be kind of coming in through, I may have them come in through the south here. I typically keep the map rows on the map just because it's easier to keep the players oriented. So, and that works out well for me. So let's go ahead and start drawing some lines here. Zoom in a touch. So, and I generally keep a bit of the roof so that they kind of know what type of thing it is that's actually blocking their vision. It doesn't have to be perfect. I found in caves where the walls are all kind of squiggly, just basic broad strokes works really well. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and set up the square around these guys. Alright, here we are. And drawing these through. Won't worry about that. And the measurements there, the 35 foot, 40 foot, and all that, that's basically the map telling us how tall the buildings are for in case the PCs decide that they want to climb to get a better vantage point. It'll give me an idea of how difficult that task might be. So again, these do a really great job of giving me relative or relevant information at my fingertips, which is why I like these adventure series so much. So looks like the basic vision is mapped out. Now this this encounter is going to happen during the daytime, so that means that basically there's no worry about range of torches or anything like that. If the players can see, have line of sight from here all the way down to here, they'd be able to see that far. So, which makes sense in the daytime in a city street. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the encounter and see what we have. So another really basic encounter 4 doppelganger assassins and 7 thugs. The thugs are again minions, so not a difficult encounter. So let's go ahead and get some thugs out here. So bring ourselves here. Make sure this is an ambush. So I'm gonna again put them on the hidden layer. Let's see. So we have a thug that shows up there. This one's a bit more laid out as far as how it'll progress, where people will be coming from. Actually, let's go ahead and I like to make the people they're fighting a little bit different, add some character. So there's nothing wrong with having just multiple of the same for each monster type. And occasionally when I need to, I'll actually also use these tokens, which are basically just a screenshot from the monster manual. So, but that's if I don't have a cool, looking guy that I can bring in. So let's see. There's a thug there. It's going back up to the characters. I'll do a thug with a stick. He's gonna be right over here. Bring some of the thugs from here. I typically try to make the thugs kind of look like the weaponry that they have that matches, their stats. So the players can get a little bit of information just from looking at the models themselves. Let's see, there we are, properly thuggish. Alright, any more? There's going to be one that kind of comes, I guess, from these buildings here. So 2 more, actually. One here, one here, one here. And I guess they're waiting on the rooftops and will be shooting down from above. So this is where reading it, I guess I missed some of the tactics in the adventure. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what their tactics are. Tactics, thugs attack en masse, okay. Charge around corners and hold it. Alright, let's see, do the thugs have any type of range attack? They do have a crossbow. Okay, so we'll say that they are coming from the rooftop, some of them. So, and I like the pirates a lot for thugs here. They're very thuggy. Bring him on there. Now what that does mean is basically right now the players won't be able to see this character at all. So I usually will move them. Let's take a look how my vision is on that. So like if I have this guy here, oops. Let's erase that line. If I have this guy here, the players won't see him at all. So what I'm going to do is erase this line and kind of move it back a touch. Give them a bit more view of the rooftop. Not much, because it is still a nice surprise when they get pelted from above. Make sure there's no hole there. Alright, looks like this guy as well. And extend this line a touch. So, and I have one of my players, Misha, he loves climbing on buildings, so there's a very high chance that he's going to go scrambling up on the rooftops. So, in which case I'll just kind of erase some of the lines from vision blocking. And it works 2 ways. If a player is on this side of the line here, they'll see all the stuff, but they won't see the ground below, which makes sense. Or if they're on this side, they'll see the ground, but they won't see up on the rooftop. So that'll work out well if that happens. Let's move this guy back. Oops. Gotta go back to the hidden, because that's where I've been having these guys. Alrighty. Let's grab one more thug for that. There we are. Let's grab the doppelganger assassins. Let's see. Double dagger assassin, there we are. And I know I have one or a couple more. Let's go on over to the essentials. No, nothing here. Maybe it's dungeon dwellers. Yeah, there we are. Alright, there's one there. There's one here. Alright, and this adventure is not very linear at all, which means they may actually be ambushed without ever seeing the other encounter that I did. There's actually quite a few things that may happen in between each other, and I do really like when the designers do that. It just gives the players a lot of freedom how they do that. This is kind of an investigation on what's going on in the town, which is kind of their main base of operations. So, just like before, I'm just renaming all these guys over to the name that matches the encounter. Let's see. And I basically have a second monitor that's not shown that lets me see the encounter. That way I remember who's what. So having two monitors is extremely useful. It's also really helpful when I'm actually running the adventure. So I basically have one monitor up with the adventure itself, usually DM's guide open behind it as well, and one monitor with the map tools program running. So, and my players, like I said, they run on kind of a client computer. That computer is hooked to a projector, which basically projects straight onto the wall. And we use a what do they call them? A presentation mouse that the players pass around to move their characters. Sometimes I'll move them for them because it's a little bit easier and quicker. And we also kind of call that our talking stick. So if it's a point where all the players are kind of discussing tactics with each other, basically telling each other what to do, and it gets too hectic, we'll just say, okay, hand me the talking stick, and that's the player who has the floor. So it works out well for the group to keep things organized and keep things flowing. So we have our names up, we have our vision up. Next thing we have to do is set up the hit points. I know all the thugs are minions, so they're hit point 1, and the assassins are all 34. Yep, 34. Alright, so thug 1. Oops. 1. Did I do his bloodied? No, I didn't. Okay. 1. 34. And my group is going to be so surprised because most of the time I forget to set the hit points before the actual encounter starts, which means that they have to sit around and wait for a moment while I set up all the hit points, and then roll initiative for however many guys are going. So this would be a nice little surprise, and then it would just get straight on into initiative for them. Let's see, he's done. Just kind of check and make sure I didn't miss anyone. Oh, sorry, I probably missed these two up here. There we are. I knew there were more. So that's an assassin, and that is a thug. Another thug. And there we are. So now we have our two maps, C5, C7. Let's go ahead and save the campaign, and we should be good to go. So, oh, that's right, I wanted to put some roofs on these, that way the players won't actually, well, actually with the vision blocking they wouldn't see anyways. So, I can leave it as it is, they'll just see that it's a building. Alrighty. I always save like a million times as I go, so don't want any lost progress. Any holes in the map? No. Looks good. Alright. And so that's basically setting up for the game. So, if you have any questions, you can always email me at dangerousmutelunatic@cfl.r.com, and I will try to answer anything that I can for you guys. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be testing out the audio so that we can hear the whole group. At least that's the goal. I may have to work with something makeshift in case things go wrong, which sometimes inevitably they do. But if all goes well, tomorrow we'll be streaming the actual game as we play through it. And so I'm really looking forward to showing that off, because it's a great group. I mean, obviously I'm going to say that since it's all my family, but it really is a neat dynamic that they have going on. So I hope you guys keep an eye out and tune on in, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you.